The tardigrades that were exposed only to vacuum and cosmic radiation still survived at a high rate. Many revived after being rehydrated, meaning the process in which a body or material absorbs water again after losing water or being dried, and even reproduced normally as if nothing had ever happened. But for those that had to be exposed to UV rays, especially full-spectrum UV, almost all of the samples were destroyed. Vacuum is not scary, radiation is not scary. For tardigrades, humans are the scariest thing. This experiment has great scientific significance. Just imagine, if a small organism can survive when shielded from UV rays, then life could exist in comets or meteorites while moving between planets, right? If the panspermia hypothesis is correct, then Earth may not be the place where life began, but only the place where it landed. And the question then would be, where did we really come from? Number 2, raising animal embryos in orbit. If humans want to settle beyond Earth, the hardest question is not only, can we live there, but also, can the next generation be born there? From the 1970s to the 1990s, scientists sent fertilized quail eggs and chicken eggs onto Soyuz, Mir, and the Space Shuttle. By 2021, in the Space Embryo Project, Japanese researchers in cooperation with JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, sent frozen mouse embryos at the 2-cell stage to the ISS. They cultured the mouse embryos on the ISS until the blastocyst stage. Result: in the chicken and bird embryo culture experiments, some embryos developed slowly, and some were deformed. In 1990, 6 quails hatched on Mir, but they needed harnesses so they would not float. They had to wear harnesses as soon as they hatched. But it seems they would be very proud of their descendants because they became the first birds to travel into space. That is pretty impressive too. In the Chicks in Space experiment in 1989, NASA sent 32 chicken eggs aboard the Discovery shuttle. Only 8 chicks hatched, but many of them had problems with temperature regulation and orientation ability. With the mouse embryos in 2021, out of 360 embryos sent up, only 72 survived the launch and thawing process. Among them, 17 embryos developed into blastocysts. The results showed that embryonic development can take place in space, but the rate is very low, and there are still many risks. These experiments show that gravity does not only help us stand on the ground, it may be related to how fluids are distributed, how cells divide, how organs form, and how a fragile young organism orients itself after birth. For me, this is the experiment that begins to touch a sensitive zone. It does not only ask whether life can survive, it also asks whether life can be born and develop normally beyond Earth. At this point, try to imagine a distant future, when we humans have to migrate to faraway planets. Will our descendants be born and develop normally during those long-term journeys? Number 1, Laika and the one-way flight. In 1957, in the middle of the space race between the Soviet Union and the United States, the Soviet Union successfully launched the Sputnik 1 mission. But they wanted to go further, not only to send machines into the sky, but also to send a living creature into orbit. The creature chosen was Laika, a female dog that had once wandered the streets of Moscow. Scientists believed that stray dogs would have better endurance, suitable for the harsh conditions inside a small, cramped spacecraft cabin. But the cold truth is, the Sputnik 2 mission was not designed to bring Laika back. From the very beginning, they had already decided that this would be a one-way flight. On November 3, 1957, Laika was launched into space aboard Sputnik 2. Inside the spacecraft cabin, she had no window, no way out. There was only the vibration of the rocket, the pressure when leaving the ground, and a metal compartment that grew hotter and hotter. At first, the Soviet side said that Laika had lived for several days in orbit and then died peacefully. But many years later, the truth was revealed. Laika survived for only a few hours. She died because the temperature inside the cabin rose too high and because of extreme stress. The goal of the experiment was to test whether a living body could withstand rocket launch, high acceleration, vibrations, and a weightless environment. Data from Laika helped humans understand more about physiological responses in space, paving the way for later human spaceflights. Technically, this mission proved that a mammal could fly into orbit. Laika was later honored as a space hero, but heroes usually have the right to choose. Laika did not. Humans looked up at the sky and rejoiced at the success of the mission. Laika only knew that she was locked inside a narrow cage with no door, launched into the sky, and finally died from overheating in extreme fear and loneliness. That is the end. Which experiment impressed you the most? If you like this video and similar topics, leave a comment to let me know. Thank you very much for watching until here.